In Basel, I had successfully treated Froben, the town's best-loved citizen. I had saved him from the horrors of a leg amputation. Ecolampadius, the Protestant pastor of Basel, was already my friend, and now I was to treat Erasmus, the wisest head in Europe. It was to be the deciding factor in whether I would be given the prestigious post of town physician. I approached Erasmus warily, anxious to treat the whole man, and not just his gouty parts. I reached out to his mind, the healthiest part of him, and dealt with his insomnia. I took him back into his childhood and brought out the resentments that lay there.
When I was a youth, I lived at a church school. The elders soon noticed that I was of quick disposition, high in spirit. Their chief concern was to subdue me with blows and threats and scoldings, that I might become suited to the monastic life. By my wits, I tried to forestall them. I became ill, but they did not relent even for one moment. They won in the end and drove me into a monastery. 5 years I spent as an Augustine monk, 5 miserable years. The rank smell of Friday's fish reached me even in my sleep. And the eternal round of duty every night gave me insomnia.
We have something in common, Erasmus. Neither of us sleeps the night through.
I did not realize that you were afflicted with sleeplessness.
Ah, but mine is not an affliction. Nor do I think is yours.
A divine gift? What do you mean?
You yourself and Plato have written that all human consciousness ultimately approaches the divine. At such an advanced stage, man's awareness becomes continuous. He knows no break in his 24 hours. When he rests, even when he sleeps, he remains partially or even totally alert. For men begin to pass their nature's bound and find new hopes and cares which fast supplant their proper joys and griefs. They grow too great for narrow creeds of right and wrong, which fade before the unmeasured thirst for good, while peace rises within them ever more and more. Such men are even now upon the earth, serene amid the half-formed creatures round.
In all my reading, and they say I am the best read scholar in Europe, I have never come across such concepts. Continuity of consciousness. The first glimmerings of immortality. Why, that is exactly true of me. I never sleep heavily. Indeed, consciousness never entirely deserts me, though I rest frequently.
Such a state comes gently, and only through sweet sessions of meditation. The mysteries of Greece and Rome told of such states. For the most part, when they sleep, they remember little of the event. But there are an elect few who are visited by the muses when they sleep, and remember much. I am one of these, and the books I write come to me whether awake or asleep in such a torrent of words, some of which I don't even understand, or which come too fast for my finite brain. At times like this, the muses act through me. I am inspired by them, or, in a sense, used by them.
Your strange talk stirs me, not unpleasantly. Now I recall it, I've had similar experiences myself, especially during long hours on horseback, seated in the saddle, hardly knowing whether I was awake or asleep. Once I rode through the Alps, through the Splugen Pass. It was a long, long journey, and I meditated much on the folly of man. Indeed, it brought forth my most popular book.
You mean Praise of Folly?
It was really praise of Thomas More. Such a lovely man. Far too good and willing a servant for such a harsh monarch as King Henry. When Thomas married again, his second wife would never let me near him.
The most spiritual of men always evoke strange emotions through their magnetism. Women are particularly affected, and often fear more for their husbands than for themselves when such saints are near. Maybe get back to more professional matters. I would wager that after such long hours on horseback, your kidneys were at their worst.
Why, that's true. After riding across the Alps, I took a boat down the Rhine to England. I'd no sooner moved into Thomas More's home there than I went down with kidney trouble. Gravel and pain for weeks on end.
Sitting slumped in the saddle for such long hours damages the kidneys. I know from my own bitter experience. You've been losing weight recently.
Yes, I have. For the last 5 years, I've been only the shadow of a man. Now I feel myself to be a shadow of a shadow.
Gout will often accompany loss of weight, especially if you stand excessively. Your friends tell me that you spend long hours working at your writing desk, standing most of the time.
Well, it helps me concentrate that way.
The catarrh of your gout will deposit crystals in those parts which bear your weight. I mean your feet, especially if your rooms are so cold. I will leave for you this preparation which I have made from the seeds of meadow saffron, and I beg you to rest your feet in vinegar as hot as you can bear it. And you must eat more.
In Holland, they eat too much. In Venice, they eat too little. I was unhappy in both places.
And here in Basel, we drink too much.
It really is very trying.
Gentlemen, the candidate we are about to see, Aureolus, Philippus, Theophrastus, Bombastus von Hohenheim, is better known to you as Paracelsus. He may well fulfill our needs here. For the city's physician, we want someone who will neither bow to nor offend the university authorities. They, as you well know, would like to make the appointment themselves, but they are, in the main, loyal sons of Rome rather than of the city of Basel. We, the city's aldermen, are mainly Protestant, and have the desire not so much to upset our Catholic citizens, but rather to insist that certain reforms and humanist doctrine become part of the city's way of life, irrespective of the dictates of Rome. Both Erasmus, who is friendly with the academics of the university, and Ecolampadius, who is the mainstay of the city's enlightened thinking, both have recommended Paracelsus to us for this post. Gentlemen, do I state the position clearly?
You do, but we must also include the recommendations of those healed by Paracelsus. They include the testimonies of kings and princes, and more recently, and if I might add more significantly, the curing of a malignancy in no less a person than our much revered friend Froben, publisher of this city. However, we know little of Paracelsus' philosophy, and even less of his religious persuasions. Let's have the young man in. Reference is all very well, but to my mind, the interview is the deciding factor.
Paracelsus, we are well aware of your impressive record as a doctor and of your qualifications. These gentlemen and myself would like you to tell us, in simple terms, your philosophy.
Gentlemen, my philosophy is simple enough. Nothing comes out of nothing. If there were no heat, nothing could be hot. If there were no art, no man could be artistic. If there were no wisdom, no man could be wise. All wisdom comes from one center, and we are merely channels for it.
Just how do you apply this most humane philosophy to life about you?
To those I treat, I apply love wisely. To those I teach, I apply wisdom lovingly.
And where is this center of love and wisdom of which you speak?
Its central flame is within the sun, but there is a spark of that flame within each of us. It is the one fire out of which all forms corporeal and incorporeal are fashioned, and by which all forms are ultimately perfected.
I have not heard you speak of God.
My God is an all-consuming fire.
We hear that you are no mean alchemist.
Fire is the central theme of alchemy. Yes, I am an alchemist.
How do you account for your remarkable feats of healing the sick?
Some, the true alchemists, know how to channel this fire through their patients. I am one of such an elect.
Your teachings are controversial. Some say outrageous. They say you would burn Aristotle and Galen.
Aye, and Avicenna too.
No doubt. This would be one more successful process of alchemy which we could all witness. Paracelsus, you come to us with very powerful recommendations from Erasmus and Ecolampadius, no less. Now, you've told us something of your philosophy, but not a word of your own religious convictions.
You are famous for your feats of surgery, some performed on the battlefields of Italy and in Holland. Yet even there you have been known to treat the wounded of both sides. It is also rumored that you never attend Mass. Which side are you on?
I had no wish to become part of either side. Not to the stench of Rome and the sale of its pardons, and certainly not to priggish Protestantism that betrays its peasants and panders to its princes. I am neither Pope nor Protestant, heathen or heretic. I am Paracelsus, and I am nauseated by the actions of rulers who should know better. They encourage the burning, brawling, killing, and quartering of their own subjects on the flimsiest of pretexts, and often in the name of God. I treated the wounded on both sides because they were human, and all the sons of God. The very art and nature of healing is love. Where is there wisdom lovingly applied? Where is there love wisely applied? I see little evidence of it anywhere. Yet these two things, love and wisdom, are the real nature of the divine, not the paraphernalia of religious life. Striving for them can bring a second paradise here on earth.
Perhaps you seek the impossible, Paracelsus.
Things that are considered now to be impossible will be achieved. And that which is looked upon to be superstitious in one century will be the basis of the approved science in the next.
Yes. Yes. Gentlemen, have you any further questions for Paracelsus? My dear Paracelsus, we are happy to announce your adoption as physician to the city of Basel, which carries with it a lecturing seat as professor of medicine at our university. Our students are in need of a mind such as yours.
I wear these garments to show that I am entitled to your respect as a doctor of medicine and as a surgeon of long standing. But now I discard these academic robes to become one of you, a fellow student. Wait a minute. I've something here for you. Now, this is the most important herb of them all. See how it loves the hedgerows. It is digitalis, a plant which strengthens the beat of the weak heart. Next year, this little plant will be strong and tall. Its flowers will delight you, and its juices will rescue your frailest patients. Now mark its position well in your notes, and come for it again in midsummer. All right, lads, rest here.
By Paracelsus, this is only a weed. I have these choking my garden.
There are no weeds in this world, only plants whose virtues are yet to be discovered. I'll go even further. It is not only true of plants, it is true of man. Every man, no matter how humble or corrupted he may be, has a rare virtue. Or should I call it a gift?
What, even Dr. Worthen, sir?
Find the plant whose virtue fits the disease. Separate the virtue with enlightened alchemy and give it to the patient as a whole. Now you there, if you were a tailor of any merit, would you fit Hans here with a pair of patched trousers, a patch from here and a snippet from there? You would gauge and measure his form. You would make a pair of trousers that fit. The worst kind of trousers are those that do not fit and are patched. The worst remedies a doctor can give to his patient is a patchwork of remedies, a snatch from here and a pinch from there.
How can you make such statements to these gullible youths?
You shut up, Patchwork.
Nature is the real physician, not you. Take your orders from her. Learn about her remedies and what boxes she keeps them in. Take no notice of apothecaries. They are greasy sculleries. Magic? Yes, I use magic. Magic is a great hidden wisdom.
What about reason?
Reason? Reason is a great open folly. I don't let it play much part in my life. The vital force interpenetrates man and radiates round him like a luminous sphere. It is in this aura that the powerful forces of man's imagination can produce healthy or unhealthy effects. Here lies the cause of disease, or its cure. Man is a star, no less than any star in the heavens. When man eats his bread, he eats the stars. Man is a sun and moon, a heaven filled with stars. He is a solar system in miniature. Imagination is a creative power. The doctor must use it to be successful. He must see his patients getting better in his mind's eye, and the patient will thrive. Resolute imagination, some call it faith. Resolute imagination can accomplish all things.
Gentlemen, I have called this meeting of the faculty to consider what action to take over the matter of Paracelsus and his misdemeanors. As you know, by virtue of his appointment as this city's physician, he becomes also professor of medicine at this university. We have shown our resentment at having this appointment foisted upon us by the aldermen of the city. Professor Brandenburg, you have had occasion to observe the strategy of this madman Paracelsus. Tell us.
What Paracelsus does is unheard of outside of this city. He gets absolutely no cooperation from us at the university, and yet he functions with extraordinary efficiency. Some of his students, I suppose I should call them devotees, are barbers' apprentices. Some are straight from the streets, not even registered with us.
He takes his students, I shall call them his rabble, he takes them for long walks in the countryside, showing them how to select herbs, roots and seeds from the hedgerows, even from the crags and ledges in the mountains. The man is mad.
May I also add that he wears his pupils out with endless visits to his own private patients, treating them under the banner of his appointment as city physician.
What I find incomprehensible is that he upbraids them, scolds them, insults them. But they applaud his every mood and gesture, every word and syllable.
And he lectures them in their own language, the vernacular, instead of Latin, in German. A despicable habit.
Oh, I wouldn't say that. Dr. Hock of Strasbourg University lectures in German regularly, and he's very popular there. In fact, Hock's in town at the moment. We should have invited him to this meeting. He has clashed with Paracelsus himself in Strasbourg.
This is not Strasbourg, and we are not German.
Gentlemen.
He has contradicted all our expectations. We thought he would use highfalutin terms to confuse his students. Instead, he uses language that even a child can understand.
Oh, most disruptive. He ignores the teachings of antiquity. Such beautiful works.
I have glanced at some of Paracelsus's writings. I was so sure that they could do no more than mystify the youth of today. Instead of confounding them, his outlandish theories have been applied to very matter-of-fact subjects like lotions, sores, carbuncles, eruptions, infections, and wounds. And the students love it, every word of it.
Even students who are not medical make a point of attending at least one of his lectures in order to say, I was trained by the great Paracelsus.
We're losing this city by default, gentlemen. We're losing it to a charlatan, an upstart, a mob rouser. We must do something.
Well, my dear Hock, let's hope the wine goes down as well as the fish and parsley did. Sam Poussin. I brought it with me from Auvergne. I entertained a group of bankers there. Expensive, but quite exquisite. Now to business. It was very good of you to come down from Strasbourg and meet me here in Basel. What have you to report on your investigations into the treatment of venereal disease, Dr. Hock?
Well, the money you advanced has enabled me to explore further the effects of both mercury and guaiac on quite a few patients.
Observing, of course, the utmost secrecy and discretion, I hope.
Naturally. Secrecy is as important to me as it is to you, as I had to undertake a number of post-mortem examinations.
Good heavens. Isn't that dangerous? Wasn't it remarked upon?
No. As you know, I am well placed at Strasbourg University to undertake such measures with complete safety. In fact, public dissection is a feature of our syllabus.
And what have you found?
Well, I regret to say that guaiac, your bark of your West Indies tree, is completely useless in the treatment of venereal disorders.
As I suspected.
But worse than that, the bark is highly dangerous, whether fumed or taken internally.
I suspected that too.
It has provided me, I fear, with most of my cadavers, and those open corpses are not a pretty sight.
Dr. Hock, I have not paid you such vast sums of money to hear that sort of news. The House of Fugger is heavily, very heavily involved in guaiac. We purchased the monopoly of it in good faith from the Emperor himself.
Herr Fugger, I cannot deny the evidence of my own eyes, of my own autopsies.
Well, enough of guaiac. What of mercury?
Happier news. Mercury, as I said when we last met, does act against the venereal diseases.
God damn it, you're sure of that?
No question of it, but there are problems.
Problems? Problems? It either works or it doesn't.
Oh, it works all right, but I had to use massive doses in order for it to be effective.
What is wrong with that?
Fugger, sometimes these huge doses burn away healthy tissues with the disease, causing disfigurement and even death due to damage to the kidneys, the bone marrow, and other sensitive organs.
But it cures the syphilis.
Sometimes.
Does anyone else know of this?
Only one person in all Europe, and he uses it in very minute doses. I can't see how he gets it to work.
Whoever it is, he must stop his nonsense. Where does he practice?
He practices here, in Basel, as it happens. Dr. Theophrastus von Hohenheim, the town physician. He uses it in the minutest of doses on the poor of the city. The wealthy are all into guaiac.
Dr. Hock, I have here a document allocating you a large shareholding in several trade voyages in ships that we, the Fuggers, own. They bring cargoes of guaiac from our West Indian holdings. They will make you a rich man. I have a similar arrangement with Dr. Stromer, Dean of the Medical Faculty of Leipzig. I want you to stop all further research into guaiac and keep absolutely silent about what you have found for at least a period of 5 years.
That, presumably, would be the time you will require for the disposal of your, our guaiac investments.
Precisely. It also allows me the time to buy up cinnabar mines for the extraction of mercury, and for you to do more research into the effects of substantial doses of mercury, mark you, substantial doses, on venereal disease.
Well, that could be arranged, but the research would be very expensive.
You may draw from my bank here in Basel, where it would be safer, what you require in the way of expenses. On one condition, that you take steps immediately against this Dr. von Hohenheim. You must discredit him in whatever way possible.
I think that could be arranged, too. I'm very friendly with the Dean of the Medical Faculty here. In any case, I'd be glad to meet Dr. von Hohenheim again, hopefully in debate.
Thank you.
Paracelsus, I wondered if I should meet you here. Froben, my publisher, is a mutual friend.
Brunswick, isn't it? Professor Brunswick, Strasbourg University.
Congratulations on becoming city physician. Paracelsus, I was most interested to hear of your method of treating venereal disease here in Basel.
You mean using mercury? Well, I use very minute doses. I really use the quintessence of the mercury. The doses are quite microscopic.
Ah. Where did you learn of this remedy? From somewhere on your travels?
Oh, no. Purely by experimentation, as I recall. I reduced the strength of my doses to my patients to avoid damaging their kidneys. I found that as I reduced the strength, the treatment became more effective and less dangerous.
Amazing. Were you aware that my colleague Dr. Hock suggested mercury for venereal disease some years ago?
No. Not until quite recently.
It's very interesting. He, like me, is in Basel at the moment on business. Well, good day, Paracelsus.
Very good of you to put me up, Theophrastus. I'm on my way to Freiburg, and I felt I should see you. The Grand Council of St. John have set up a commission to raise funds for the recapture of Rhodes, and I am part of it. Visiting our commander is in southern Germany.
You're the willing workhorse again. What about all those young dispossessed knights who left Rhodes with us? Can't they do this sort of donkey work?
Well, they're just squires with no knowledge of the outside world. They couldn't raise enough money to buy themselves a suit of armour, never mind a fleet of 200 ships.
I think there's something else, isn't there, George?
Yes. I'm weary. I haven't recovered from Rhodes yet. The old wounds, you know, they open up now and again, and the cold weather doesn't help.
I'm glad I had this house to shelter you. Come on, George. There's something more.
It is a pleasant house, but there are whispers in the village that the renegade Ecolampadius gave it to you. A downright Lutheran. You should be careful of Lutherans, Theophrastus.
It was part of my contract as city physician, George. I need a place to settle in, books to write, studies, alchemy, astrology, and so on.
Well, it reminds me, I met an acquaintance of yours in Avignon, young student, Michael Notre Dame. Do you remember him?
Yes, Nostradamus. I met him at Montpellier University. A wild young devil. He has interesting ideas on astrology. Calls it celestial science.
Right up your street, I should think. Earth, not flat, but round itself, moving round the sun. You lads need to be careful. You'll have the inquisitors on your track.
Yes. His opinions are a bit, eccentric. I gave him a manuscript on the Egyptian mysteries and persuaded him to take up medicine. Did he?
Yes, he did. He should be licensed to practice medicine soon.
Nostradamus is a mystic, like me.
You mean full of weird utterances and prophecies?
Yes. I remember him saying during one of his withdrawn states that in about 100 years from now, that would make it about 1640, that the King of England would flee his realm, and a pretender, or was it a protector, would seize the kingdom.
England? Without a king? Why, that is fantastic. He is like you. You're always saying outrageous things like that, you and your prognostications, isn't that what you call them?
Yes. Each year the stars offer new trends.
Well, Nostradamus, like you, also is suspicious of apothecaries. He thinks they are slovenly and irresponsible. He visits them all just like you do. He scolds them, and he's always in trouble with the guilds of medicine for unorthodox practices.
I can't blame him. The apothecaries here in Basel should be driven from the city. Instead, I am the target for attack.
You refer to your rumpus with the University Faculty of Medicine? Yes, it's a nasty business.
They're making a political scapegoat out of me. All I want to do is teach. To teach the medicine I know best. A medicine that works, that uses nature's pharmacy, that does not make the patient worse. Not one that is recited and repeated parrot fashion, the same in every medical school.
But you are involved with this Lutheran madman, Ecolampadius.
Come now, George. With you, I have just fought for Catholic Christendom at Rhodes. Would you tar me with the same brush as Ecolampadius? I have no preference for Luther or the Pope. I just want to heal in my own way. Instead, I have ignominy and dishonor heaped upon my name. Our name, yours and mine. Just because the Lutheran alderman of Basel appointed me city physician instead of giving the post to someone in their faculty. Because of this, I am denied lecture facilities at the university.
That is disgraceful. Perhaps I should have a word with the Dean of the Medical Faculty. I'm not going to allow a member of my family, a trusted knight who has fought for our order, to be insulted and degraded. If what you say is true.
It is true, and I think you should see the Dean.
Well, leave that to me.
That I will do. Enough of me, George. There is something else you wish to discuss?
Yes. There is another matter, Theophrastus. I've become interested in alchemy.
You mean you're looking for gold? Anywhere? Gold for the retaking of Rhodes?
Yes, that is true. But there is obviously something more in it than just gold. Every time I pick up a book on alchemy, and there are enough of them in this establishment, I feel deeply stirred. I feel an inrush of energy, as if I'm opening a tap into myself and filling myself with the waters of life.
I am delighted. Just delighted.
And can I come with you on your sick rounds? My hands grow rusty for want of patience to heal.
The festivities on the night of St. John seemed to bring all my frustrations to a head. By tradition, the medical students took their bric-a-brac, their litter and old books to the space in front of the university for burning. They were all in a gay mood and dressed in strange costumes. Some sang and danced, others mocked public figures, and still others drank in the taverns and caroused. And of course, there was the turnout of the professors of the faculty too. They were all dressed in their finery and decided to focus their attention on me, gathering outside the tavern where the students played up hell.
Paracelsus, if you're not being accepted at the university, then you have yourself to blame.
How am I to blame?
Well, you've not bothered to ask the dean of your faculty to enter you in the register. You haven't presented your diploma as you should as a matter of courtesy.
My diplomas were examined by the aldermen of the city. It was on their recommendation that I was appointed. Must I go through it all again just to please that tribe of nincompoops? Never. They go out of their way to make it impossible for me to operate as city physician and as their professor of medicine. They would not behave this way towards Erasmus.
Another thing, you have not invited your faculty colleagues to dispute with you in some academic subject as is customary.
Nor will I. I'm not trained to dispute with them in Latin, nor trained to use a pretty turn of phrase here or an ancient quotation there. I'm not used to giving submissive answers to their arrogant questions. I know my ways. I do not wish to change them, even if I could. I'm a rough man. I was born in a rough country. I was brought up among the sturdy pines of the Alps, and I may have inherited some of their knots. That which seems polite enough for me may appear unpolished to another. What appears as silk to my eyes may seem very homespun to you. With Mars on the ascendant and Scorpio on the cusp of the 7th, he can expect to inherit something from his wife. He should make plans for it.
Thank you, wise master.
And tell him he should get home quickly. His wife is flat on her back again, and the father of his children is in doubt.
Seriously, Paracelsus, you have not been tactful. After you were appointed, you published your program of lectures without consulting the medical faculty or even discussing it.
Discuss it? You really think they want to discuss it? They only wish for an opportunity to condemn it. Unless everything I say or do fits nicely into the works of Galen and Avicenna, they will protest. If I digress one finger's breadth from the ancients, if I try to prove a point by experiment or reason, instead of by some precept of Galen or Avicenna, they instantly take offense. You want me to have faith in the judgment of such men? In doctors who were given eyes to see but who do not use them? Doctors who are so indoctrinated by ancient concepts that they can confuse nature with dragons? Doctors must learn that their art, the art of healing, lies in the mysteries of nature. The nature of herbs, the chemistry of minerals, the behavior of man, not in the contents of old books. This damned monstrosity here, this dung heap of barren misconceptions, this afterbirth of living truth has become accepted without question as the textbook of every university.
Paracelsus, my dear friend, moderate your language. There are faculty doctors watching you from the street.
Look at them. Doctors, you call them? Idle fellows, finely dressed in velvet, silk and taffeta, gold rings on their fingers, silver daggers at their sides, white gloves on their hands. Are they capable of standing over a steaming cauldron for more than 5 minutes? Have those fingers ever thrust themselves into the charcoal of a laboratory? Piss on them! To the bonfire! With unreason!
Like a flaming pomegranate, Doctor. Plague grenades. Liven up this party. Oh, this is awful.
That's just what I need to grab the attention of this crowd.
I learned to make them in prison, Doctor. We used them once to try and blow our way out. It didn't work. Grenades aren't strong enough. And that'll be half a gulden then, Doctor. If you'll just give me a moment, Doctor, I'll go down to the fire there and light it for you. Just toss it down to me.
Go on, then.
Come on, Doctor. Get to it. Right. You mad bugger.
Students are in high feather this evening, Monica.
And flock together. And a mischievous lot. It's bad even for St. John's night.
Is that Paracelsus amongst the hubbub?
Yes, it is. Engaging in bawdy talk with Boniface. Another humanist.
Fellow students! Citizens! I propose that we reward the gods for the pleasure they are giving us this evening. Let us burn the books of Galen and Avicenna! Bring me Avicenna and Galen! And all the other nonsense of antiquity! And let's burn it! We'll write new books! I'll write new books! And look at them! Every year they get bigger, like and look at this! The greatest primeval monster! The cannon of Avicenna! The cannon of May all our misfortunes go up in smoke with them! And with these
Let us clear away the clutter of centuries!
Would you destroy the past? Aye, and raise a phoenix, the new medicine from its ashes.
Not if I have anything to do with it, you young turkey cock.
They say that I burned with the hatred of learned men, that I could not bear the knowledge found in doctors, magistrates, consuls, professors. I hated them no more than I hate a house that lets in the rain. The tempestuous fires that burnt out the pages of Avicenna and Galen burnt in my heart too. But there were worse things to come. They were to add fuel to the fire that drove me on to confront the whole entrenched medical tradition, as well as the powerful banking house of Fugger.